Hope you're all well. Let's start our lesson for today, and I hope that everyone can benefit from it. And please, if you have any comments, any questions, don't hesitate to write them in the post, and I will be happy to answer you after we finish. I'm sorry, but I had to mute everyone in order to save the time. And we are going to start now. Let's first share our handout together and go through it quickly to be able to expect what to see. No, not this one. Sorry, just a minute. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Okay, this is our handout, and let's have a quick look at it and to see what we're going to see there and how to get the most out of it. In the beginning of the handout, I have put the contents for you, so it would be easy for you to go directly to the section that you desire. After that, I started by the reading lessons. So the handout goes in the same order of the book. So you will have the reading text, okay? And of course, the questions, the book questions are there if you want to redo them on your own. Then I have prepared some extra questions based on the standards of the exam. Okay, so this is going to give you some practice on what you see in the on the exam paper. After that, I have attached also some extra activities related to the major standard I see in the lesson. According to every lesson, there's always a certain standard that the lesson focuses on. As in the first lesson, the focus is on the purpose of the text. So I've added some explanation of how to find the purpose of the text, what types of purposes, and also some activities on how to identify the purpose of any text. Okay. After that, we move on to the vocabulary section, and in there you can find the words, their meanings, and some examples, and followed by some activities for practice according to the type, depending on the type of activities that you may also find in the exam. After that, we move on to the grammar point. And the handout goes like this all the way. At the end of the handout, you would find an explanation of the writing section, of the writing lesson, and also some samples of the writing according to the type of writing you are studying in each module. This handout is only on module 6, and the others will follow, inshallah. Okay. If you have any questions, if you have any problems, as we have agreed and at the beginning of the lesson, don't hesitate to write and I will answer you. Okay, now let's start with the grammatical point we're going to have today, which is modal verbs. And to talk about modal verbs, we need to set some ground rules. يعني خلينا, I'm going to be using English most of the time, but for some students who prefer Arabic, there will be some use of Arabic as well. Okay. So for people who don't like Arabic, bear with me. People who cannot understand perfectly English, bear with me. We're going to mix the two languages together إن شاء الله. التمارين بالنسبة لتمارين الكتاب، في طالب أو طالبة سألتني هي نفس اللي في الكتاب؟ لا، أنا قلت عندك نفس اللي في الكتاب بلس بالنسبة للريدنج التمارين اللي بعد الدرس لا مش من الكتاب، دي أنا اللي عاملاها. التمارين اللي في الملزمة الخاصة بالفوكاب وبالجرامر برضو مش من الكتاب. أوكي؟ طيب نبدأ دلوقتي بسم الله الكلام عن المودال فيربس. عايزين عقل صاحي وعايزين طولة بال وتركيز. Modal verbs, they seem a lot, they seem a bit confusing, but if you deal with them in an organized way, there will be no problem. Okay, so as I said, let's first set some ground rules. First, what are they? What are the modal verbs? Okay, what are the modal verbs? The modal verbs are verbs that which need other verbs with them in the sentences. They have certain qualities. Let's say they cannot be used on their own in a sentence. So when you say I can, the listener will be waiting. You can do what? I may, you may do what? And so on. So they are not main verbs. They are there to be used with other verbs. Okay? Why do we need them? What can we use them for? We can use them for many things. And this is what's nice about them. They are very useful verbs and they can be used for many functions. Okay? So instead of looking at them as confusing and must is used for too many things, I'm confused. No, think of must that it is a very useful verb that you can use it in many ways to express many ideas and in different situations. So let's deal with them in a positive way. Okay, so the first fact we know about modals that they cannot be main verbs. Whenever you want to change them into negative, you just add not. Okay. And there is a little difference between a modal verb and what are the modal verbs? The basic modal verbs, they are almost 10, which are can, could, will, would, shall, should, may, must, and might. What about have to, has to, need to? Give me a second, okay? Okay, I have shared the whiteboard with you, and let's have a minute before we start. Like I have just said, the main verb are can, could, will, would, may, must, might. Also we have shall and should. Okay, these are the main verbs. All these verbs, we call them modal. They are the main modal verbs, okay, the basic ones. So when we change them into the negative, we just add not. Okay, we also have some other verbs which act like main verbs, like have to, has to, had to. Okay, notice the two, have, has, had plus to, and used to. We also have ought to. Okay, had better. All these are called modals. Okay, but there is a difference between the basic modals, these modals, and the other modals which are always followed by to. What is the difference? The difference is in the negation way. When we change these verbs into negative, we do not add, sorry, these verbs into negative, we don't add not. We cannot say you negate used to by adding not after use. No, we deal with them as main verb. So we change them into negative according to their tense. So have to and has to, when we change them into negative, they become, we use don't and doesn't. For the present, we use don't or doesn't, have to. Okay, bear with me. الحاجات اللي انا بقولها لك دي مهمة، يعني ركزوا معايا واصبروا معايا. لما الحاجات دي تثبت في دماغك او في دماغك هتسهل عليكي الدنيا جدا جدا مع المودلز. اوكي، يبقى انا لما باجي انفي have to او has to او had to، طب لو هي ماضي زي had to و used to هقول didn't. اوكي، didn't have to او didn't used to. اوكي and so on. طيب بالنسبه ل ought to had better، نفيهم بيستخدم برضو not ولكن مش بالطريقه اللي فوق. اخد بالي وانا بنفي ought بتبقى ought not to. had better not comes after better. had better not. اوكي، يبقى من الاساسيات اللي احنا ننتبه ليها ايه هي المين مودال فيربس وازاي بنفيها بحط لها نوت مباشره. بالنسبه ل have to و has to و had to used to ought to، هنا النفي بيختلف شويه. لما بنفي have to و has to و had to و used to بشوف ايه زمنها وبنفيها على اساس الزمن. يعني انا بنفي باستخدام don't و doesn't في المضارع و didn't في الماضي كانهم main verbs، ولكن نفتكر ان هم مش main verbs. They cannot be used on their own. Okay. Just wait a minute. I've shared it again. Now can everyone see? If you don't see, if the screen is not shared with you, write in the posts. اوكي علي، هل الامور كده واضحه؟ Just one second. اوكي تمام. ملك can you come and take care please؟ خدي، مش عارفه اشرح لك، عايزه امسك القلم. اوكي كده الامور وضحت تمام. يبقى إذن علشان ما كانش واضح في الأول، أنا عندي المجموعة الأولى دي، المجموعة دي هي البيسك مين فيربس اللي عندي، أوكي؟ وعندي المجموعة الثانية اللي هي مع كلمة to اللي هي have to, has to, had to، برضو بتستخدم بنقول عليها مودلز. ليه بنقول ليه؟ لأنها ما بتستخدمش، بتتشابه مع الأفعال الناقصة، إنها ناقصة، إنها لا تكمل المعنى بنفسها، ولكن نفيها بيختلف، إن بنفيها على حسب زمنها. بالنسبة ل ought to و had better زي ما اتفقنا ناخد بالنا بس من مكان not بيكون فين. بالنسبة ل ought to بنقول ought not to، بالنسبة ل had better بنقول had better not. اتفقنا؟ ادي أول حاجة، أول ground rule we needed to set. Okay? Now the second ground rule، الحاجة الثانية اللي لازم ننتبه لها ولازم نعرفها كده من البداية، ومن الحاجات اللي هتسهل علينا الأمور. بالنسبة للتايب 1 اللي هو من المودل فيربز الموجود قدامكم ده، النوع ده لما بستخدمه في الماضي، اوكي، احنا عارفين ان كل المودلز الاساسا بيجي بعدها ايه؟ بيجي بعدها verb 1. I can read, I must go, I might come tomorrow, you should study hard, shall I help you? All models are always followed by an infinitive. But when using the models to express situations in the past، برضو من الجراوند رولز اللي احنا لازم نعرفها ان المودلز اللي هي ايه؟ اللي احنا قلنا عليها اللي مش معاهم تو، اللي بدون تو، اللي هي can, could, will, would, may, must, might، ونحط معاهم كمان needn't. اوكي، ايه حكايه needn't؟ هنشرحها بالتفصيل later on. اوكي، needn't اصلها need to بمعنى يحتاج، ولكن ممكن استخدمها ك main verb here when I say need to، وفي الحالة دي بحط بعدها to ويتم نفيها بنفس الطريقة اللي نفيت فيها don't need to or didn't need to لو هي needed. لكن لما بستخدمها بالطريقة دي أنا حولتها إلى modal verb. أوكي، وبالتالي لما المودلز اللي هما المجموعة دي تستخدم مع past tense بتساوي ايه؟ بيتغير الفورم بتاعها وبتبقى عبارة عن المودل verb plus have plus verb 3. اوكي؟ تاني، إذا من الجراوند رولز، من الأساسيات اللي احنا اللي بنتكلم عنها النهارده قبل ما نبدأ التفاصيل، إني لما بستخدم المودل to express any situation in the past، إيه اللي بعمله؟ أنا بحط المودل verb اللي ما فيهوش to، ماليش دعوة بالمودلز اللي فيها to. أوكي؟ plus have plus verb 3 plus verb 3. تمام؟ Go away, go away. Okay. So what else do we need to talk about? Now we need to talk about the models in more details. I'm going to share the handout with you again. Okay. Mala, could you please خدي القطة لأنها يعني هي قاعدة فوق اللابتوب. حبيبتي العبي جوه، اقفلي عليها الباب. I have a very naughty cat, by the way. I want you to suggest a name. Okay, a very little naughty thing. Okay. Now, let's talk about models of ability. When we talk about ability, it means that you want to express that you can do something, okay, whether in the past or in the present or in the future. So let's agree on something. خلينا نتفق على حاجة من البداية. أولاً، لما نيجي نتفكر في المودل verbs انا مش هفكر في فعل بيستخدم في ايه. يعني مش هقول يا ترى كان بتستخدم في ايه، ولا could بتستخدم في ايه، ولا must بتستخدم في ايه. If I think this way I'm going to be very, very confused. Okay? I want you to focus on what? I want you to focus on the functions. Focus on the function of the modal. الوظيفة اللي بستخدم فيها المودال verb بتاعي. Okay? Not on the verb, not on the verb itself. Why? Because the verb itself can be used in many different things, in many different ways. So it's going to confuse you. اما اجي افكر في المودلز هفكر في الوظيفه اللغويه اللي بيستخدم فيها. لو انا عايز اعبر عن الاستطاعه انا هستخدم انهي موديل. لو انا عايز اعبر عن الالزام انا هستخدم انهي موديل. اوكي؟ وهكذا. تمام؟ يبقى اذا انا لازم اكون اتعامل معاهم بالطريقه الصح علشان ما اتلخبطش. So your focus will be on the function. Today now we're going to talk about ability. When we talk about ability هيجي في بالك مجموعة أفعال هي فقط اللي بتستخدم للability. يا إما can أو can't, could أو couldn't, و be able to. تاني الأفعال بتاعت الability اللي هستخدمها في الability. Let's have the new whiteboard. Okay. Can you see the whiteboard? Is it clear? Ali, be with me here and send me, okay? رد عليا دايما. هي علي الوايت بورد طلع. Good. Okay, thank you. Ali, if I'm wasting your time, you can go study something else. You don't need to be there all the time. And I do appreciate your effort. Thank you. Okay. Now, when we talk about ability يعني الاستطاعة يجي في بالنا مجموعة أفعال هي can أو can't, could أو couldn't, و be able to. دي مجموعة الأفعال اللي بعبر بيها عن الاستطاعة. طيب إمتى هستخدم أي واحد فيهم، أي فعل فيهم، وإيه شروط استخدامهم؟ Let's talk in more details, okay? Can and can't are used to express ability in the present, okay? So you can say, I can speak 2 languages. I can come with you tomorrow. I can mimic bird sounds. I can play the music, whatever, okay? Or I can't swim, I can't play any musical instrument, I can't. So this is the way we use express ability in the present. Is it the only way? No. We can also use am, is, are, plus able to. إذن can و can't بتساوي في ال present am و is و are able to. يعني هل ده معناه إن أنا أقدر أستخدمهم الاثنين؟ أقدر أستخدم الطريقة دي والطريقة دي؟ أيوة الاثنين ممكن استخدامهم للتعبير عن ال ability in the present بشرط. أوكي؟ سوري مش بشرط. الاثنين ممكن يستخدموا الستراكشر هيكون صحيح، تركيب الجملة هيكون صحيح، ولكن bear in mind what؟ إن can و can't is more common. And am و is و are able to is less natural. Less natural and less common. It is not used. So almost everyone, especially in spoken English, we use can and can't to express ability in the present. Okay? Present and future. Yes. Well, I am very careful with saying present and the future because I don't want people to, at this point, to think about the structure of the future, which uses will and going to. So when I say I can come tomorrow, Here I am expressing my ability to do something in the future, but without using the structure of the future, okay? Okay, so now we understand now. Let's go back to the handout here. Okay. Now, so when we talk about present ability or in the future, but without will, we can use can or can't or is, are, not, able to, plus the verb one. But remember to think of able to in the present is a little bit formal. It is less natural. It is not commonly used, okay? Let's talk now about ability in the past. When we talk about ability in the past, things tend to be a little bit more tricky. Why? Because when we talk about the ability to do something in the past, especially if we are talking, pay attention here, I'm talking about ability, not inability. In the present, it doesn't make a difference. You can say I can or I can't. Ability, inability, both, no problem. You can use can and can't, okay? But when we talk about the ability and inability in the past, we're going to talk about the ability first and how to express it. Then we're going to talk about the inability, اللي هي negative form. So when we talk about the ability, we have to think about one very important thing, which is what kind of situation am I talking about? What kind of ability am I talking about? لازم لما أكون بفكر في الاستطاعة، التعبير عن استطاعة على عمل فعل معين في الماضي، أقف شوية مع نفسي وأسأل نفسي يا ترى الموقف أو الفعل اللي أنا هتكلم عنه، الموقف اللي هتكلم عنه هل هو موقف محدد ولا بتكلم عن الاستطاعة على عمل شيء معين بشكل عام؟ Like expressing your ability to read at any time and any situation, not in a specific situation or in a specific event or on a specific occasion, okay? So when we talk about abilities in general, like when we talk about the skill, our skills and our talents, okay, our skill to read, our skill to write, our ability to ride a bike, to drive, whatever, in general, we use could. We use could, okay? So to use could to express ability in the past, you need what? You need a past signal word or a past sense in the sentence from the context, or plus a general situation. You don't need a specific situation. Like in the sentence here, when he was 4, John could read and write. Here I'm talking about John's general skill of reading and writing at the age of 4. No specific event, no specific situation. In high school, she could beat anyone in a running race. So I'm talking about her ability to beat anyone when she was in high school in the past at any running race, not in a specific running race, in any running race, okay? So here, the ability is general. So general ability in the past, could. Now, what if the situation is specified in the sentence? What if we are talking about a certain day, a certain event, a certain occasion, and our ability to do something on that specific day, in this specific event, okay? Like here, in these sentences, in these examples. In this case, we use was or were able to. Was or were able to, okay? So I say, I was able to persuade her to join the event or to volunteer in the event. I was able to join her, to persuade her Okay? To volunteer at the show. To volunteer at the show. Here I am talking about a specific show that the speaker knows about. Okay? We were able to get really a good price for the car. So we were selling a car or buying a car, and we were able to get a good price. This is very specific. Okay? He was able to ride a bike to go to work last week because it was sunny. Again, very specific. When? Last week. And why? Because it was sunny. So I'm talking about a certain time that he was able to do a certain thing. Okay? Does this mean he can ride his bike? He could ride his bike at any time? No, I'm talking about this situation. Okay? So this is talking about ability in the past, in the positive form. Okay? Now, what about if I want to express ability in the negative form, or in other ways, in other words, to express my inability? Inability means something that I did not have the ability to do. حاجة ما قدرتش أعملها. Something that I couldn't do in the past. In this case, it is more simple. Why? Because it does not make a difference whether the situation is specific or whether you're talking about a general ability. If you're talking about your ability to do something in general or in a specific situation, it is the same. You can use couldn't. Okay? So couldn't here, it equals what? Equals was, were, able to. Wasn't and weren't able to. Wasn't and weren't able to. بتساويهم بالضبط. فأنا في الحالة دي، في حالة لقيت الجملة فيها نفي وماضي واستطاعة، يبقى أنا هستخدم couldn't وأنا مغمض عينيا، مش محتاج بقى أقف وأفكر والله هو الموقف محدد ولا بيتكلم على مقدرة بشكل عام. لا لا لا. في حالة النفي في الماضي بستخدم couldn't بنفس درجة wasn't or weren't able to. الاثنين صح، ولكن الأكثر شيوعاً والأكثر استخداماً في even written and spoken English هي couldn't. Okay, so we simply use couldn't to express inability in the past. Okay, let's quickly recap on the points we have mentioned in a very, very simple way. Present, you can use in the present, or the future, you can use can, can't, am, is, are, able to, or the negative form. Can, can't, am, is, are, or am not, is not, are not able to. Okay? طيب, in the past, في حالة الإثبات، في حالة الجملة المثبتة, you have to think whether the situation is specific or general. بتكلم على general ability، على مهارة عامة، على المهارات اللي كان حد بيقدر يعملها زمان في الماضي، فبستخدم could. لو بتكلم على الاستطاعة على عمل فعل معين في موقف معين محدد في مناسبة معينة متحددة في الجملة، فبستخدم was, were, able to. نلاحظ إن في كل الحالات اللي جاية إن able to لازم يكون قبلها شكل من أشكال الفعل be. We're going to talk in more details about that. اتكلمنا عن الability in two tenses, present and past. What about the other tenses? I mean, we have 12 tenses in English. What about them? If I want to say that I can do something or I can't do something in the present perfect or in the future with will or with going to or in the past perfect, what am I going to use? What am I going to use? Because I cannot, again, I cannot use can or can't or could or couldn't. No, no way, never. طالما خرجت من دائرة المضارع والماضي، خلاص هنشيل كان و could على جنب، ما اقدرش استخدمهم تاني. stop here. هي دي قدراتهم، ما يقدروش يتصرفوا في باقي الأزمنة. باقي الأزمنة كان لازم يكون لها حل، فالحل هو مع المرنة اللي بتحل كل المشاكل اللي هي able to. ليه بقول عليها مرنة وليه بقول عليها بتسد كده في كل المواقف وبتنقذنا؟ لأنها ببساطة من شروط استخدامها إن يكون قبلها be. هل be نفسها؟ لا، أقصد ال suitable form of be أو ما يناسب الزمن الجملة من be. طيب هي نفتكر مع بعض كده، هي be دي إيه وضعها يعني؟ مين be دي؟ لا، لازم ده be دي أساس الإنجليش. أوكي، من الكورنرز يعني. Verb to be can be used in different forms according to the tense. So be is the basic form, or the infinitive is verb 1. But when we move to the present, it changes into am, is, are. In the past, was, were. In the perfect tenses with have, has, and had, it changes into been. And of course, be, as I have just said, is the infinitive form. So sometimes we need to use the infinitive, like when we use will, should, must, going to, after any modal verb, including will, we also need to use the infinitive. So we can use be. So as you can see, be is very flexible. It is going to help us express ability in any tense. Okay, let's have some examples. For the future tense, we are going to express ability in this way. We will be able to, because will is always followed by infinitive, by verb 1, فحطنا لها الverb 1 من be. We will be able to, أو we are going to be able to. Like she will be able to attend the meeting next week. Okay? Okay, what about present perfect, where I have has and had, have and has? In this case, we are going to use been or been. You can pronounce it both ways. Both ways are correct. Okay, so we can say they have been able to win all the matches since the champion started. Okay, so here I have since, so I need present perfect. They have been able to, been able to. Past perfect, had plus verb 3. I had been able to finish all the work before they arrived. Had been able to, okay? They will have been able to deliver the project by the end of the month. Okay, even with the future perfect, I can still use express ability using able to, but I'm going to use been. So no problem here, because I'm just going to find out the tense and choose the suitable form from be and put able to plus verb 1. Okay? So, and that was it regarding the verbs of ability. The verbs of ability. Ability in the present, can, can't. Ability in the past, could, was, were able to. Could, general, was, were able to, specific. Inability in the past، نفي في الماضي بيتساوى، باخد couldn't وخلاص. Ability in the rest of the tenses بختار الشكل المناسب من be واحط able to واحط بعدها الفعل في المصدر and that's it. Okay? You're going to have a great chance of practice because I have provided you with many activities. You have multiple choice. You have to choose. You decide which modal verb is suitable and complete the sentence. And you also need to practice how to rewrite a sentence using the suitable modal verb. Actually, I want you to do sentence number 1 and number 2 in the rewrite section. Here, this sentence and this sentence, because I need to see how you're going to handle a rewriting activity. Rewrite the sentences and put them, write your answers in the chat box, and I will, and let's see. Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes, 1 minute for each sentence. Start now. And if you have any questions, please write them in the chat box too. I don't want you to worry about I don't want you to worry about who can see your messages, because no one can see your messages but me. So feel free to make mistakes. It's okay. Just try to provide me with the answers. When I was 5, I had the ability to swim. So the answer would be, when I was 5. Anyone? Okay, let's not waste any more time. I'll just give you what I have, what I want to say. When you rewrite a sentence, I mean in the multiple choice and in the completion activity, it is clear. But when we come to the rewriting, you have to be careful of what you do. I want you to focus on the thing that he asks you to do, the tense of the sentence, so to decide which modal verb you can use. Sometimes he puts the modal for you. He says use could, okay? If he does that, so he has solved half of the problem, okay? If he has not done that, if he doesn't do that, you'll have to think of the suitable modal verb. Now, how can I write the sentence? I'm going to start, okay, writing the sentence till I come to the verb which I want to express the ability to use. Decide first what tense of the verb of the sentence. What is the tense? It's past. When I was 5. I had the ability to swim. أنا ماليش دعوة I had the ability to. الجزء ده كله أنا ماليش دعوة بيه. أنا ليا دعوة بالفعل اللي هو عايزني أستخدمه. اللي هو مقصود به التعبير القدرة عنه. فعشان كده بيقول هكتبها ازاي؟ هبدأ الجزء الأول زي ما هو. When I was 5, I could swim. ليه اخترت could؟ لأن أنا هنا مش محدد لي موقف كنت بعوم فيه، لا. It is general. Okay? It was possible for Slam to build a new house. It will be possible. It will be possible. يبقى الزمن هنا إيه؟ Future. Okay? For whom? For Smith. يبقى Smith عندي الفاعل. إنه يعمل إيه؟ Build a new house. يبقى هو ده الفعل اللي هعبر عن الاستطاعة على عمله. طيب أنا عندي future وability. يبقى أنا ما أقدرش أستخدم إلا able to. طيب مع will هحط إيه من able to؟ Yes, will be able to. يبقى the Smith will be able to build. وأكمل الجملة. Okay? Have you got it? Okay. Now let's move on to the following point. In the following point, we are going to learn how to express what? How to express. Yes? If we have will, we use able to, of course. Yes, dear. If you have will, use will be able to. بحط will وأحط بعدها be able to. زي ما قلت لكم الأزمنة التانية أنت بيكون عندك الستراكشر موجود في الجملة. Okay? زي he will be able to build a house. Okay? Will have the ability to build. يبقى أنا عرفت إن الفيوتشر موجود من كلمة will، فأنا هخلي will موجودة بستخدمها وبحط بعدها be able to مع الفاعل. Okay? Now, for expressing obligation يعني الإلزام. لما بفكر في الobligation برضو عندي نفس القصة، يا إما obligation in the present أو obligation in the past. Okay? ولما بتكلم عن الobligation أو الإلزام بعمل فعل معين في الزمن المضارع، لازم برضو أقف وأفكر نوع الobligation هنا إيه؟ لأن أنا عندي two types of obligation. I have two types of obligation. Internal obligation and external obligation. Regarding the internal obligation, it expresses your personal feeling that you are obliged, or someone else's personal feeling that they are obliged to do something. Something is very important. I feel, or they feel, that is very important. That's why they need to do it. They have to do it. They say, I must. In this case, we say, I must. And we use must to express what? Personal obligation. Okay? I must go to the dentist for my toothache. محدش بيلزمني. أنا اللي حاسس بأهمية إن أنا لازم أروح للدكتور علشان ألم الأسنان اللي عندي. Okay? I must phone my friend this evening. I promised him I would. أنا وعدته إني هتصل بيه، يبقى لازم أتصل بيه. I feel that it is important to do so. I really must give up smoking. أنا هنا بتكلم عن إن إحساسي أنا بأهمية الفعل. Okay? So, for expressing internal obligation to do something, we use must. Now, if the obligation is external, I mean if someone else is forcing you to do something, you don't have a choice. You have to do something because the law says so, or because of some type of authority is obliging you, or you have some rules to follow, or your boss, your teacher, your father, the religion, the tradition, whatever external factor that is obliging that you feel that makes you do something. If they make you do something, it means you don't have a choice not to do it. If you don't do this verb, if you don't oblige, you are going to be there are going to be some kind of consequences. يعني هيكون في بعض التبعات. Maybe you will be fined, تدفع غرامة, you will be punished, you will lose something, and so on. In this case, you say, I have to. Of course, have to can be suitable with I and the plural, but when we're talking about singulars like he, she, it, Ahmed, Reem, any singular, you have to use has to. So have to and has to express external obligation. Like in the sentence, here I gave you the sentence before and after. So here's the sentence and I want you to rewrite. Okay? And here is the answer. So you are obliged to go to school every day. Okay? We can start here by you or we, no problem. We have to go to school every day. Why did I use have to? Because it is not your choice. If you don't go to school, you will be punished. It is obligatory that he stops at the red light. So it is not his choice. He is obliged. هو مضطر. هو ملزم إن هو يقف في الإشارة الحمراء. If he does not stop at the red light, he's going to be fined or even imprisoned. Okay? الكلمات اللي بتعبر عن الobligation اللي هي external والinternal obligation, we have it is necessary, it is obligatory, you are obliged, you are forced to. Okay? Now let's move to obligation in the past. احنا اتفقنا ان لو انت ملزم بعمل فعل معين بعبر عن الالزام في المضارع، انا الاول هشوف الجمله نوع الفعل اللي فيها، هل هو الزام داخلي ولا هو شيء بيلزمنا بيه قانون او عرف او تقليد او سلطة معينة هي اللي بتلزمنا بعمل الفعل، في الحالة دي يا إما هتختار للإلزام الداخلي must، يا إما هتختار have to و has to للإلزام الخارجي. ده في المضارع. طيب في الماضي لا تفكر نوع الإلزام داخلي ولا خارجي، مش هيفرق معاك نوع الإلزام، في الحالتين هتستخدم had to. had to يعني مثلا أنا امبارح كنت مضطرة أنام بدري لأن عندي امتحان الصبح بدري، فأقول I had to sleep early yesterday. Okay? It is internal obligation. Okay. I used had to. He had to stop at the red light. Otherwise he would have been fined. كان لازم يقف في الإشارة الحمراء يا إما كان هيتخالف. هنا external obligation ولكن برضو استخدمت فيه had to. اوكي؟ يبقى إذن obligation في الماضي ما بيختلفش معاه نوع الobligation، نوع الفعل، هل هو internal ولا external. اتفقنا؟ اوكي. Now نروح على المنع. prohibition. المنع بعبر عنه دايما في المضارع بس. اوكي؟ ملوش ماضي. يعني there is no past case here. وفي حالة المنع احنا بنستخدم mustn't أو can't. mustn't أو can't. والاثنين بيستخدموا بالتبادل، يعني ما فيش واحدة فيهم أهم من واحدة ولا واحدة فيهم لها حالة معينة بستخدمها فيها. الاثنين زي بعض بالظبط في التعبير عن المنع. So you can say you mustn't take photos in the museum or you can't take photos in the museum. Both are correct. It means you are not allowed to. غير مسموح لك. So when you see in the sentence you're not allowed to or you are forbidden, you are prohibited, you are banned, you are not allowed to، كلها بمعنى غير مسموح لك أو ممنوع إنك تعمل الشيء ده. So you can use mustn't أو can't. mustn't أو can't. Okay? Now to express necessity. Necessity means الضرورة. لما تحس إنه كان من الضروري إنك تعمل حاجة معينة. محتاج تعمل الحاجة دي. So it does not have to be some kind of obligation. مش شرط حد يلزمك بيها. ولكنها حاجة ضرورية لازم أعملها. Like for instance, if we don't have dinner, I didn't make anything for dinner, so we need to buy something for dinner. Okay? So here we use need to. Need to express what? To express necessity. Okay? It is necessary for me to buy a sleeping bag before my camping trip. So I need to buy a sleeping bag before my camping trip. Here we used I need to. I need to. Notice that the verb here is in the positive form to express that it is important to do something. Okay? I need to. Also, the verb here should be followed by to. And it does not make any difference what type of subject is used, whether it's plural or singular. It does not make a difference with need. Okay? Sorry. It makes a difference with need. I was talking about needn't. Here, need, I have to bear in mind if we are using, if the sentence starts with a plural subject or I would say I need to. But if it starts with he or she or it, what am I going to do? When I say he, I should say needs. Don't forget to add the S. He needs to. She needs to. But we use a need to. Okay? Have you got it? So bear in mind the type of subject that is there in the sentence when you are choosing or when you are using need to. We use a need. He, she, it, or any singular needs. Okay? Now, Let's move to the following point, which is expressing absence of necessary. لما أقول لك absence of necessary يجي في بالك دايما كلمة إيه؟ مفيش داعي. لا داعي. لا داعي. علشان ما تتلخبطش كتير. يعني إيه غياب الضرورة أو افتقار الضرورة أو whatever expression Arabic you're going to use. خلي في بالك كلمة دايما لا داعي. Okay, to express absence of necessary in the past, we have many ways. We can use don't have to or doesn't have to. Okay, this is the first way. Don't need to or doesn't need to, or needn't, or needn't. Okay, what is the difference? There's no difference. They all do the same function with no difference at all. Okay, they all express lack of necessity in the present. In the present. Okay, so what is the difference between them? Only the fact that needn't here is treated like a modal verb. Remember, at the first of the period, the few minutes of the period, we were talking about the types of modals, and I told you that needn't can be sometimes treated like a modal verb when it is negated in this way. When we put the negative, the not after need. So it is pronounced needn't. In this case, you cannot use to. ما نحطش بعدها to. وما بيفرقش معاها إذا كان الفاعل مفرد أو جمع. We say I needn't buy. You say he needn't buy. They needn't buy. Okay? كلها بيجي بعدها needn't بدون to والفعل فيه المصدر زيها زي كان زي could زي must. Okay? So how do I see the sentence in the rewrite type of questions? Like this first example. It is required to prepare the soup now. It isn't required to prepare the soup now. We still have time, so no need to hurry. It isn't required to. In this case, we have many choices. We have three choices. You can say you don't have to prepare the soup. You don't need to prepare the soup. You needn't to prepare the soup. Okay? Don't have to, don't need to, needn't. طيب وإذا الفاعل مفرد doesn't have to, doesn't need to, needn't. Okay? Doesn't have to, doesn't need to, needn't وبعدها الفعل في المصدر. And these are the ways which we use to express absence of necessity in the present. Okay? طيب. What about if we talk about the past? Absence of necessity in the past. أقول لك والله ما كانش فيه داعي تعمل الحاجة الفلانية امبارح ولا الأسبوع اللي فات. ما كانش فيه داعي تتعب نفسك وتشتري لي هدية وأنت جاي. Okay? يعني this sort of situation. In this case, we simply use didn't instead of don't and doesn't. So we can say didn't have to or didn't need to. طيب يا مس انت في الأول قلت لنا الأفعال اللي معاها to دي بقدر فيها ب don't و doesn't و didn't. لكن needn't ما فيهاش to. طب أنا هعمل معاها إيه؟ ده احنا قلنا إنها عاملة زي المودال verbs. هنطبق عليها القاعدة اللي احنا قلناها على المودال verbs. لما بستخدم مودال verb في الماضي بحط وراه have وتصريف ثالث. اوكي؟ يبقى لو استخدمت needn't في الماضي بحط بعدها have plus verb 3. Okay? Let's see how. The sentence says it was not necessary to wait. She was just on time. Okay? So I can say I didn't need to wait. She was just on time. Or I can say I didn't have to wait because she was on time. What if I used I needn't? هتبقى ازاي يا حلوين؟ هيا ثانية 10 يا مبدعين. How am I going to do it? Write it in the box, in the chat box. Write it in the chat box. Come on. لو استخدمت needn't هنا هقول ايه؟ Yes. You have to write because I've muted everyone. Let's see if we can unmute you. Well, I gave you permission, students, to unmute yourself. If you want to answer, just unmute yourself and answer. Okay? Raise your hand if you want to answer. In this case, I'll tell you to unmute yourself. Yes? I needn't wake up early. Is this present? This is in the present. But here, the sentence says, this sentence, look at this sentence. This is the sentence I'm talking about. And notice the tense. It was not necessary. It wasn't necessary. So I'm talking about the past. And I want you to use needn't. يلا يا مبدعين، عايزة أشوف الإجابة. ها؟ مين هتحل الجملة؟ ومين هيحل الجملة؟ I didn't need, no, I'm sorry. I said use needn't, not need to. نفكر. احنا لسه شارحة من شوية، قلت لما أشوف needn't أنا هعمل إيه؟ yes, needn't have، وأعمل إيه في الفعل wait؟ ها؟ تبقى needn't have waited. Needn't have waited. أحطه في التصريف الثالث. برافو. Yes. I needn't have waited. Okay? Very good. Like in the example here. Look at this example. It wasn't required for you to buy anything yesterday. وهقول لك استخدمي needn't. So the answer would be you needn't have bought. Needn't have bought. حطيت needn't بعدها الفعل have وبعدين الفعل حولته إلى التصريف الثالث. يبقى يا ثاني 10 ننتبه لما الاقيه حاطط لي بين القوسين كلمة needn't، لازم أروح أتأكد من زمن الجملة قبل ما أحل. إذا زمن الجملة مضارع قايل لي it isn't necessary, it isn't necessary، الزمن هنا مضارع، يبقى أنا هقول you needn't buy, you needn't sleep, you needn't go, you needn't come، هحط needn't وبعدها مصدر عادي. لكن إذا كان مديني جملة في الماضي وحاطط لي ما يدل على الماضي، يبقى أنا لازم انتبه، لأني بعد في الحالة دي هحط have والتصريف الثالث بعد needn't. have والتصريف الثالث. You needn't have bought. You needn't have bought. Okay? Okay. I hope everything is clear by now. If you have any question, just write it in the chat box. Now let's move to the following point. The following point is should, the use of should, ought to, and had better. Should, ought to, and had better. Okay. So, should, ought to, and had better are used to express many functions. The first function is advice. Like in this sentence, should I talk to my parents about this? Here I am asking for your advice. Should I talk to my parents? Okay, so I'm asking for advice here. To express opinion, she should join a gym. here, this is my opinion. I think that it is better for her to join a gym. So I say she should join a gym, or she ought to join a gym. Both are correct. Notice in all these sentences, you can use also ought to. Okay, so she should join a gym, or she ought to join a gym. Should I talk to my parents about this? Ought to I talk to my parents about this? I know, a little bit unfamiliar and unnatural, but it is correct. To make suggestions, you should try the chocolate cake ice cream. Here I am suggesting that you try the chocolate ice cream, and you can also use ought to. You ought to try. You ought to try. Okay. Students should not be late for school. This is called mild obligation أو الإلزام المتوسط. Don't worry about this one. You're not going to be asked about it. But anyhow, you shouldn't be confused if you see this structure anyway. When you are expressing mild obligation, يعني أنت يعني مثلا لو المديرة اللي بتتكلم أو المدير المدرسة اللي بيتكلم وبيقول students have to be on time, okay? أو students mustn't be late for the class. ممنوع يتأخروا عن الحصة. He is the manager, okay? He has the authority. عنده الauthority إن هو يعاقب. But أنا جاية زايرة المدرسة وقاعدة أحضر حصة كولية أمر وأقول والله الطلبة المفروض برضو ما يتأخروش. صدقني الطلبة فعلا المفروض ما يتأخروش عن الحصة. Here I am not the authority. So I wouldn't say students do not mustn't or can't, because I'm not in the place to oblige them not to do something. مانيش في المكان اللي أطبق المنع عليهم. فهنا بستخدم بقول إن ده بنسميه المايلد obligation. Okay? Don't worry about it. Don't let it confuse you. مش هيجيلك لو جالك obligation أو جالك obligation سؤال obligation في الامتحان هيبقى سؤال obligation صريح بفعل صريح واضح فيه الإلزام. تمام؟ الكلمات اللي بتعبر عن الاقتراح أو الرأي أو النصيحة لما يقولك it's a good idea, it is preferable, it's better, it is advised، أو ممكن يكتب لك الجملة ويكتب لك جنبها advice, give advice, suggest, express your opinion, whatever. المهم إن إحنا عرفنا إن الاستخدامات دي المودال verbs المناسبة ليها هي should أو shouldn't و ought to أو ought not to. طيب إيه حكاية had better؟ ليه خليناها كده لوحدها ونزلناها في صف لوحدها؟ لأن هي a little bit different because it gives the sense of warning and threat. So it is not just an advice. No, it is a very strong advice that has the one which has the vibe of a threat or a warning. And to identify the type of sentences in which you need to use had better, look for the sentence which contains a consequence. يعني دور على الجملة، لو الجملة قدامك إذا لقيت فيها عواقب أو تبعات للفعل إذا اتعمل أو ما اتعملش، فالأفضل إن احنا نستخدم had better للأصح. يعني مثلا look at the second example. You had better behave yourself or you will be punished. You will be punished here is the consequence. ده اللي هيحصل if you don't behave yourself. لو ما تصرفتش بشكل مهذب you will be punished. So or here تدل على ان دي تبعات الموقف. Okay? عندي كمان كلمة otherwise. يا إما أو وإلا. Okay, I'm not at all good in Arabic, so forgive me about my Arabic mistakes. Okay, she had better leave now, otherwise she would be late. Okay, so the consequence which will take place if she doesn't leave now, that she would be late. So we use had better. طيب هو لازم يكون الجملة مكتوب فيها تبعات الموقف أو مكتوب لي فيها or أو مكتوب لي فيها otherwise؟ لا طبعا. أنت ثاني عشر المفروض تحلل الكونتكست بتاع الجملة وتفهم المقصود منها. عندك مثلا you had better come home, you had better not come home so late again. واضح إن اللي بيتكلم هنا عادة اللي هيجرؤ يقول لك ما تتأخرش بره تاني وما تجيش متأخر كده تاني الأب أو الأم، وده شخص بيبقى له سلطة عليك، فبالتالي I don't advise that you disobey. So better to use had better. Okay, and here are the activities to practice the previous points we have talked about. And now it's time to move on to permission and requests. Okay, you have lots of activities. I'm going to provide you with the model answer. Don't worry about them. Okay, now for giving and asking for and giving permission. This section or this point of our grammatical rule is one that you are familiar with. Yes, you have used them, you have been using them since you were in primary stage maybe. So, can I go to the bathroom, miss? May I go out, miss? Can I ask you something? Can I ask a question? Can I open the door? Can I close the window? And many permissions. So, the most common used verb for expressing asking for permission is can, of course. And it is the least formal. هي الأقل رسمية. يبقى إذا أنا أغلب الوقت في أغلب الظروف بنستخدم can I to ask for permission. But in a more formal situation, you should use may I or could I. May I leave now? May I ask a question, please? Could I ask a question, please? And so on. So this is the formal and the more polite way to ask for permission. So we have can, could, and may. Can, could, and may to ask for permission. What about when we give permission to someone? In this way, in this case, we're going to use can and may. Can and may, not good, not could. Okay, can and may. So I can say, you may leave now if you want. You may go, you may come, you may open the window if you need to, and so on. You may or you can. Okay, to refuse permission, we say you can't or you may not. You can't or you may not. Notice that we didn't mention could in giving and refusing permission, only for asking for permission. Now, what about making requests? Here you are asking for something. Asking for help, asking for money, asking for whatever. Again, we have a formal way and an informal way. For the formal way, you use could you or would you to be very polite, to speak very formally to someone who you don't know. So you need to be very extra polite and extra formal. You say, could you take a message, please? Could I speak to the manager, please? Would you carry this for me, please? So here is very formal. And I want you to notice that we usually use not is not usually, would is not usually used with the pronoun I, okay? I don't say would I speak to the manager? No, would you? We don't use would with I. Now, for a less formal way, we use can and will. Can I talk to, can you take a message? Here, less formal, less polite. Will you carry this for me? It doesn't mean it is impolite, no, but it is less formal. You can use it with your friends, with your colleagues at schools, and so on. Okay? Will I have a suggestion? Which is to stop here. Because in the first period this morning, when I started explaining the last part regarding possibility, في ناس كتير بعتت قالت مس احنا فصلنا منك. Okay? Because I know they are a lot. المودلز كتير ومتداخلة. فأنا هعمل إيه؟ أنا هقف هنا. Okay? وهنكمل في حصة جاية إن شاء الله. I'll give you a chance to do the activities. وهديك نصيحة إنك لما تذاكر الأكتيفيتيز، لما تحل الأكتيفيتيز ولما تذاكر المودلز زي ما أنا مقسماهم كده، ما تاخدهمش يعني الجزء اللي إحنا شرحناه ده حلو يتذاكر مع بعضه. علشان كده أنا مش هديك الجزء الثاني دلوقتي. ذاكروا الجزء اللي شرحناه، حلوا عليه الأكتيفيتيز، وإن شاء الله ببعت لكم الموديل أنسر بتاع الملزمة. وشوف أنت وصلت إزاي. وزي ما اتفقنا، ما تحاولش تعمل مايند ماب، خريطة ذهنية للمودلز. ما تحاولش تجمع متشابهات، ما تحاولش تعمم قوانين، أرجوك ما تعملش كده عشان ما تتلخبطش. ركز على الوظائف والموديل اللي بيستخدم فيها. وقلنا إن فعل زي mustn't، زي كان، له استخدامات كتير. مرة يستخدم للتعبير عن المقدرة، مرة يستخدم للتعبير عن for giving permission, for asking for permission, for refusing permission, for making requests, for asking for something, for later on we're going to use it even for more functions. So study the models from the perspective of the functions, not the models. من وجهة نظر الفانكشن، بص على الوظائف وصنف المودلز عليها. ده كان ماشيه هنا وهنا وهنا، يبقى الاصح اني مش هدرس كان، لا انا ادرس هنا وهنا وهنا بيستخدم معاهم ايه. اوكي؟ And that's it for today. I hope this was beneficial. I hope that you have got the idea of using the models. عادي تنشروا الملزمة؟ عادي. الموضوع كله ما فيهوش أي مشكلة. أوكي؟ لو ليكوا أي تعليق على الحصة أو على طريقة الشرح، أو ليكوا أي اقتراح خاص بطريقة الشرح أو بطريقة الحل أو بطريقة أو مواعيد، المواعيد يعني مش هفتح لكم الموضوع قوي لأن أنا ملتزمة بالمواعيد اللي أنا محدداها. فبس أنا هكون سعيدة إن أنا آخد تعليقاتكم في بعين الاعتبار، وإن أنا أجاوب على الأسئلة. هخلي لكم الجروب على الواتس مفتوح لمدة 24 ساعة، اللي عنده سؤال عن المودلز يبعته وأنا هجاوبه، وبالتوفيق إن شاء الله. Thank you and see you later بإذن الله. العفو. Goodbye.